Welcome to the Cincy Postcast. I'm Kevin Wallace, and before we get into today's episode, I want to tell you about our friends over at Streetside Brewery, and we are so excited to be working with Streetside this season. They are an amazing Cincinnati brewery located over on the east side of Cincinnati in the Columbia-Tusculum neighborhood. Their brewery is just an amazing mix of like modern laboratory of brewing and just great neighborhood drinking hole. Absolutely love it. They brew any and every type of beer. So anybody that you bring with you to Streetside, and you should bring people with you to Streetside, is going to find a beer that they like. And if you haven't checked them out, well, this weekend is the perfect opportunity because we are hosting another live show from Streetside from 4 to 6 leading up to FC Cincinnati's season finale in Philadelphia. Come on out. It's going to be a good time. There's going to be prizes. There's going to be games. There's going to be giveaways. And very excited to announce, we will have Laurel Thaler there from Queen City Press. We will have an awesome time. Please come out. Check it out. It's going to be a ton of fun. And when you do come on out to Streetside, mention the Postcast and they will knock $1 off of each of your beers off of your tab. Not a bad deal. So a huge thank you to Streetside for sponsoring the Postcast. And thank you, listener, for coming on out this weekend. And on today's episode, well, we have a very full episode for you. In part one, it's FC Cincinnati news, roundup, some clarifications on how this team can qualify for CONCACAF Champions League. Tyrone Marshall wins MLS Next Pro Coach of the Year, and so much more in part one. Part two, we look around the world of soccer, particularly women's soccer. What's going on with the NWSL? There's a new team in Boston, kinda, and is Cincinnati going to be joining them in that league soon? And then in part three, it is a preview of the season finale in Philadelphia. We brought in a special guest to help us preview that one. You put it all together, mix it up, add a little bit of hot sauce. You got yourselves a postcast. And joining me to talk about all of that and more, I've got both of them here, the Chief and Grayson, ready to talk about Decision Day. Grayson, how we feeling? How we feeling on recording night here tonight?
I feel all right. You know, I feel like it's very nice to be here with both nation of you.
Nation of You is like a 90s like Christian adjacent band. That's good.
I was more a Nation of Domination fan personally, but you know.
Nation of You is a rom-com that was released in 2001 about a boy and a girl in high school who meet at Model UN.
Perfect.
The Nation of Domination was a faction in the World Wrestling Federation, from which Rocky Maivia, later The Rock, got his start.
I think I'm pretty sure that Julia Stiles and Giovanni Ribisi were in Nation of You.
In Nation of Domination, it was Farouk, The Rock, and at one point also Owen Hart for no reason whatsoever.
Needed somewhere to stash him.
D'Lo Brown as well. It was good times. It was a happier, simpler time, you know, when Vince McMahon wasn't afraid of playing to all of the stereotypes all at once.
Oh my God. This is an exciting week. I know this is the week that everybody, and obviously everybody listening, is gearing up for and making plans for. the live show this Saturday at Streetside. That is what everybody is talking about. Everybody but Chief, but that is what everybody is talking about on the streets.
I'm still talking about it.
Chief, I feel pretty confident we will be able to have you be a part of the live show. So I don't want people to think that, if Chief is their favorite part or even the only part of why they listen to the postcast.
They've stopped listening long time ago if they ever thought. Quite frankly, I don't want to meet the person that listens specifically for my takes.
Listen, we need people to come to this thing. If you don't come, I will psychically be able to tell if it's because you don't want me on the show or you want me on the show. And I will either quit or keep doing it, depending on how it will spite the more of the non-attendees.
Right.
Damn.
I didn't want to talk about this on the air because this is a deeply personal situation. Kevin was talking to me earlier today. We were having a meeting about some other things, and Kevin confided in me. He said, Chief, my greatest fear in life is showing up for a live show and no one being there. It keeps me up at night. It has me contemplating my own existence, Chief. I just don't think I would be able to deal with the personal rejection that would come from seeing any of the 12 missing from this show.
And my greatest fear is people coming to the show. So if you want to both make Kevin feel good and make me feel bad, which I assume if you listen to the show, you do both of those things. Come. Opposite of Kamala. Do come.
Do come.
Do come.
It's funny too. I was also talking to Grayson off the air because we talk constantly in our private lives, and he told me that if you are willing to come to this live show, he has promised to binge watch all of the Transformers movies with his family and offer a review live on the podcast of all of these fine works of Michael Bay.
Bayheim. Let's do it.
I do recall saying that.
Worst deposition witness of all time.
Wait.
The question was, is this
no need to object. I remember doing that. No, that was definitely me. I said that. Yeah, for sure.
If I didn't say that, I wish I had said it.
Do you need me to elaborate on all the other things that I said beyond the thing you asked me about? You forgot to ask me about this, by the way.
Did you guys read that text message you guys asked for? Because that was pretty damning.
It's like the old Donald Sterling deposition. You guys ever read this one?
Yeah.
Where he's the answer. Well, I fool around sometimes. I do. When a girl seduces me and tells me all these hot stories and dirty things and tells me how she wants to, you can use your imagination here, and takes my shoes off and licks my feet and touches me. When I'm a limousine and she takes off all her clothes, the limo driver said, "What's going on?" And she started, doing some stuff. And I thank her. I thank her for making me feel good. Question. Sir, the question was, is this your handwriting?
Yeah. It's just a classic weave. A classic weave.
Oh my God.
Is this your handwriting?
Yeah.
And if you don't like this content, thanks to our federal government, you now have the right just to click and cancel.
No, you don't. No.
We don't?
No.
Generally, you do.
Oh, okay.
It turns out if you subscribe to a Patreon for a podcast, you can't.
You don't.
Yeah, the cancel button is actually a resubscribe button, and we charge you an extra $2. But you can ask an extra question then at that point.
Yeah, you can ask an extra question. It turns out, and don't check this because I'm telling you the truth. It turns out the only way to cancel a Patreon subscription to a podcast is to go to a live show and request to cancel in person.
Yeah, you have to submit a document in person.
Right.
Yeah.
In person,
it's gotta be notarized.
Notarized and handed to one of the podcast hosts.
Yep.
Specifically
the tallest one.
Which I believe will be you at this show. Oh, Grayson has made a huge mistake.
He's going to beg Chris White to come and make a honorary co-host of the podcast. Oh my God. Yeah, click to cancel is one of those things where it's like in a functioning democracy, this would have been a law 20 years ago. But here we are, just now getting the FTC to make the strong suggestion that we emulate a California state law, I believe is how the order of operations went here. So
I don't know. RIP and peace to every gym I've ever been a member of.
All the gyms that I'm still paying fees for. Because I'm a millennial and I don't call people on the phone anymore.
Right.
It's all right. Most corporations don't answer the phone either. So
it's true. It's like you have to go to like our location in Missoula between the hours of 2 and 4 p.m. Central Time.
Pacific.
On the third Tuesday of the month when we accept cancellations. And in order to make the cancellation, you must take the form and make a burnt offering to the god of cancellations at the front door. He feeds on the smoke of legal documents.
You have to climb to the top of Mount Rainier and pick a wildflower and walk down with the wildflower and present it to the front desk of the gym.
Oh my God, that Nathan for you with the refund for the gas was so funny. they basically do exactly that. So that was good.
I'm excited to start canceling all sorts of things now. This actually makes me curious what I'm subscribing to that I can get rid of as quickly as possible.
Man, just classic expanding cancel culture.
Damn. Well done.
That'd be a great political ad too. It's like the federal government under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris made it a law that it's easier to cancel things.
That's good. That's good.
I actually think it should go the opposite way, right? Like it's like you can like sign up for Ozempic and cancel your Planet Fitness membership in 2 clicks.
Ooh.
Ozempic.
Or even
sorry, not Ozempic. Semaglutide by Hims.
I'm just really looking forward to like the future where Ozempic is what starts the zombie apocalypse or like the psycho apocalypse.
That's why they call it Ozempic. Zempic. Zempies.
You need to trademark that really quickly because that sounds like a multi-million-dollar film idea for the Sci-Fi Channel. And by multi-million-dollar film idea, I mean multi-$1,000 film idea,
right. Like
from the asylum.
In classic fashion, it's well known that you can trademark ideas.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you just put it in an envelope and mail it to yourself. I've heard this before. A lawyer told me that.
At a minimum,
if you send it into an email and just never open it, just leave it on.
That's a good call.
Yeah.
Or just unread it as soon as you read it. That also works too. Mark is unread.
Never saw this in my life.
That is like you
got to submit it to Sundance.
Oh yeah, this could be the premiere film at Sundance from the Post Films. Ozempic.
There we go.
A zombie apocalypse nightmare, filmed entirely on an iPhone in the area around TQL Stadium, like the concourse area right there. As we're chased off by security.
Well, hey. Speaking of chased off by security, FCC 2.
Oh, I clicked to cancel that.
Tickets up for sale.
FCC 2. Never mind. Okay, we can talk about this.
Oh. Well, they put their tickets up for sale, and by sale, they're all free. And I think they sold out in like 1 minute. Like I missed the opportunity. I was sitting there refreshing. I never saw it, and then everybody said that they were all gone.
It'll be really sad when the bots sell these free tickets at an 1,000% markup.
Yep.
I don't know if you can resell them.
They'll figure it out.
Maybe I'm sure
the bots always figure this sort of thing out.
Right.
Before you know it, you'll be paying 8, 9, 10 times the original asking price.
Just bots buying from other bots to drive the price up. It's nice.
I like this. This is a good plan here.
But people were suggesting, I don't want to name names because I don't know if it's entirely kosher or not, but there is a hill opposite the grandstand that you can generally sit on and sort of picnic and watch the game from the grass berm opposite. So that is what I may be doing for old FCC2, because I got to get a load of Tyrone Marshall, MLS Next Pro Coach of the Year. I assume it was Coach of the Year, not Coach of Eastern Conference, right?
It's
Like
Coach
he
of
won
the Year.
Coach of the Year.
Right.
Coach of the Year.
Okay, good. And that is remarkable because I'm pretty sure earlier this year I suggested to Tyler Snipes that we fire him. So I was wrong. I don't think I was.
This podcast,
I don't think I got that one right.
knows ball. It'll be fun for there to be a different hill that you're willing to die on, other than Kip Keller is good.
He's going to die on that hill watching the game as soon as someone from security comes up and he's like, no, am I being detained?
Right.
Pursuant to section 1308 of the UCC, you have to identify yourself. And
like, sir,
I did not consent to
sir,
I'm
traveling,
laws
sir. I'm traveling pursuant to my rights in the Constitution. I'm a traveler.
Yep. I am sovereign. And
yes, all of my papers belong to the trust in the name of the person, Kevin Wallace.
LLC, all rights reserved.
Yeah, I reserved all my rights.
Yeah, it says so right here.
All of them. You can't move me off this hill.
I do not have a contract with Northern Kentucky University or the Commonwealth of Kentucky. I have never entered into a contractual relationship. Therefore, I deny the jurisdiction unless you are trying me under admiralty, in which case I am a person of my own sovereign lineage and have the right to travel upon these open seas and open waters.
Hell yeah.
See, the downside to the sovereign citizen.
No,
there's just one.
No, this is the downside, which is we should make this the law, which is people can do that. And then the officer in question can say, okay, and like agree with them on their terms and then shoot them because now it's an act of war between two states, and in one firing of the gun, they have been conquered.
I've declared and ended a war with the sovereign state of this particular individual.
Right. Like,
but only Congress can declare war. So without an act of Congress backing up the action of this individual person, the war is therefore unjust and would be a violation of separation of powers.
So what I'm asking for is Congress to declare war on every sovereign citizen.
Or just like by name, each person that's ever been a sovereign citizen.
Or just like police officers are agents of like the state, though, and the states don't have like foreign powers.
So then
like
the Congress
that's a federal issue.
No, I'm saying the Congress could then declare war on all
the FBI to shoot you.
No.
Which is
Congress
what that guy was doing
war.
Up in Montgomery.
Congress declares war on all the sovereign citizens and then deputizes all local law enforcement as federal agents in the fight against these particular sovereign citizens. It's like calling up the National Guard to fight these sovereign citizens.
I take back what I said, because a lot of the local law enforcement are going to be sheriff's deputies. And as we know, sheriffs are also their own sovereign.
Yes.
They're constitutional sheriffs.
Well, what I was thinking,
so they're
even
not
dumber
to any of those restrictions. But
just in that moment, that officer renounces their citizenship of the United States, and now they are just
so then you could
shoot
the but then that would give you the right as a sovereign citizen.
Oh, okay.
But then like you could shoot then the sheriff would then become an enemy combatant on American soil, free for anyone else to shoot then.
But if they kill the only witness to them having unsworn their allegiance, they can just pretend like they never did.
I just want to know who the first person that tried the Sovereign Citizen Act was that worked, because it has to have worked at least once for people to have spread it around. It's
because somebody was so confused. Like you could confuse somebody like one time.
It was somebody driving in like a different state with like their state's historic car tags on a car that's like just over 25 years old.
I almost guarantee you what it was. It was somebody driving in like rural Kentucky with a Kentucky Colonel sticker. So they were gonna get off anyway.
Right.
And they just started blathering like I am UCC, I never consented, I'm an LLC or whatever. And the like Joe Bob, the Letcher County Sheriff's deputy was like, see ya.
All right.
Yeah. Deal. You can not get your ticket for going 8 miles.
Right.
Just slow down a little bit.
He whispered the 11 original herbs and spices in the ear of the deputy, and he was like, "You're one of us. You may go."
He knows.
Lisan al-Gaib.
You could probably avoid the entire sovereign citizen thing by like having, when you turn 18, a question where you have to go to the federal government and affirm you want to be a citizen. And if you don't, we just have a dedicated spot we deport you to. Like we have like some country that has agreed to take all of our non-citizen deportations.
I think we tried that a couple of times. It didn't always work out super well. But here's what they should do. Here's what the sovereign citizen should do. Because the problem with being a sovereign citizen, right, is like the point of like a sovereign state is a monopoly on the use of force within your borders
and
the
rule-making
ability to
authority.
But that comes from the monopoly on the use of force within your borders. Otherwise, you can't make rules. And then the like ability to like raise an army and defend your borders, so someone else doesn't come in and like tell you what the rules are going to be. Right. So what the sovereign citizens got to do is they got to like create some kind of pact between them, like bind together as like a large group of sovereign citizens, create some kind of compact that delineates the like rights and responsibilities of each of them, that gives them the ability to like raise funds, to call up troops, to like define property rights, to arbitrate disputes.
You're describing ISIS. Like you're just about like 3 Toyota pickups and a flag away from describing the Islamic State here.
Well, okay, that's the British monarchy's perspective.
It's also a constitutional republic.
Right.
Maybe they can all carry pagers around. I don't fucking know.
So like, Chief, I wasn't ready to give one. I wasn't ready to like, give one up to ISIS, but in classic Chief fashion,
not to give them their due, but you in fact don't have to hand it to him.
I wonder what Tyrone Marshall's take is on sovereign citizens.
Yeah, we should definitely tag this as like tips for entering into the FCC2 game if you don't have a ticket. And the answer is declare yourself a sovereign citizen.
You never agreed to Ticketmaster's bullshit or SeatGeek's
bullshit.
bullshit.
You're on the side that they don't open.
Tune into the Postcast live show where we discuss the benefits of pointing out the lack of fringe or the existence of fringe on the flag in the courtroom where you're
also, if there's enough of you, like I've been to one of these games, they can't keep you out. Right? This is not the US Capitol building.
What I find the most interesting about the FCC2 playing situation is the stadium.
Wait, that's it. Hold on. That's it. When they rebrand the FCC2 as Commonwealth United FC or whatever it is, the supporters group has to be the sovereign citizens.
Oh my God, yes.
Cool.
Yes.
You know what else? You know what else you could do? Ask somebody who has tickets to just send you a screenshot.
Damn.
Because
is it like the political rally
that was the game that I went to? They couldn't scan my thing, and it was legitimate too. And they just let me through.
Mm-hmm.
There's someone on this podcast that has done this many times with FCC Uno, if I'm not mistaken.
Let's just say, if you need to get in, you can get in. All right. That's all I'm going to say.
Where there's a will, there's a way. See, I would consider it that you are just showing that there is a demand for the FCC2 product, and you want to support the FCC2 product by going up on that hill to watch the game.
Yeah, where else am I going to find young, exciting players like actually playing and starting and contributing and scoring goals?
Columbus.
Oh, I was just going to say not with FCC1. So
I hurt when I said that, so I just delete that, Kevin. Just edit that out.
No, it's in there forever. No, but I think it's the field. They play at Richard Scudamore Field. If it's Richard Scudamore Stadium, then I'm wrong. But regardless,
we call it the Dick.
Richard Scudamore
call it the Dick
was
Scud.
the long time.
The Dick Scud Stadium.
The Dick Scud.
We call it the Dick Moore.
Oh, God.
The Moore Dick.
More Dick Stadium.
The Moore, Dick Stadium.
Jesus Christ.
The Dick-a-Moore Stadium.
We're partying at the Dick for this game.
But old Scudamore there, Richard, longtime CEO of the Premier League, and has like a weird fondness for the Cincinnati area because his aunt or his great aunt is from Cincinnati.
So what I'm saying is FCC, first team from MLS to move up to the Premier League.
I would think so.
Is his aunt the mom from Downton Abbey?
Probably
she
not.
is from Cincinnati. In the show.
Richard's. Oh, okay.
Oh, I didn't. Is that real? Like,
yes, that's real.
Okay. I didn't know if we were doing another bit here. I was like,
We're always doing a bit, but like all of our bits, it's also literally true.
Yeah, I can't find it fast enough. But there you go, Richard Scudamore. He's also like a big Cincinnati Reds and Bengals fan, from what I remember. So
classic.
Cool.
There you go. Richard Scudamore, weird Premier League connection to FCC2 there.
He's a sir, I think. He's got the Commonwealth of the Order of the British Empire. That means you're knighted, right?
There's like tiers to it.
Yeah. Sir Dick, if you will.
Born
his brother.
So this is from the Downton Abbey wiki. Okay. Cora Crowley, Countess of Grantham, née Levinson, born in Cincinnati, Ohio, in 1868. She was the only daughter of the dry goods multimillionaire Isidore Levinson and his wife Martha Levinson.
So anyway, congratulations to Tyrone Marshall, FCC2 Coach of the Year. Best coach on the planet of Division II teams that play in the United States.
Tyrone Marshall winning Coach of the Year is truly a remarkable turnaround. And honestly, like, if I think looking back on this season sometime in December, assuming the team doesn't go on to win MLS Cup,
how dare you?
I do think that this is a very underrated piece of this now, and looking back will be a much more appreciative moment, because this is again further proof of the argument that basically we're supposed to be the Philadelphia Union with money. And while we don't have like the true academy set up with developing these players, just because it's frankly just too young, you need to wait for these kids to get older to see if any of them pan out. In the meantime, FC Cincinnati has been very aggressively recruiting other academies, and the folks who track these sorts of things are really starting to take notice and praising FC Cincinnati for gathering up some of the best talent around the United States. But then also that is turning into success at the second team level. And this is what you need to see. Yeah. And
the 2022 MLS Next Pro Coach of the Year, not 2023. 2023 was Eric Bushy, who still coaches Colorado Rapids too. But the 2022 MLS Next Pro Coach of the Year was Laurent Courtois from Columbus Crew 2, who now coaches CF Montreal. So if you wanted Tyrone Marshall out, just wait until 2026, and then he'll be coaching
Probably the Columbus
Probably
Crew.
Montreal.
Probably the Columbus Crew.
Like the most annoying of all time.
Montreal. He'll be coaching Toronto, the Crew, Montreal, or
Vancouver.
New England. Vancouver is possible.
It'll be like Miami after Messi moves on, and all of a sudden it becomes just not a desirable place to have any. Like they're in salary cap hell. And
I would say San Jose, but they're going to hire somebody, and they're not going to hire. I doubt they're going to be in the market for a new coach after just 1 year.
Yeah,
but Montreal would.
Montreal could be.
They're already
a year.
They're already talking about
Montreal's always
Courtois.
always in the market for a new coach.
It's not a stable franchise up there.
Sure isn't.
They have always struck me as like the most likely team to relocate to somewhere in the U.S. Like if they ended up in Indianapolis, it would probably make more sense than whatever the hell it is that they're doing up there.
The problem is that their owners, I think, one, have some money, and two, are like pretty committed to Canadian soccer. They're just not primarily committed to Montreal.
Yeah,
and also like if any of the MLS Canadian teams leave Canada, I think the pressure would ratchet up at that point to have all of them leave Canada and let them build their own domestic league. I think it's more likely that another team goes to Canada than any of the Canadian teams comes to America.
I wouldn't be surprised if a motivating factor behind the like Canadian national team head coach presented by Major League Soccer Canada was like preserving their foothold in Canada and just kind of making sure that they have the only like meaningful professional teams in the only Canadian cities that most people in the US can name.
Yeah. And yeah, that
some
has
Calgary
been
erasure right here, but I'll allow it.
I can name Calgary, but I said most.
It's true. Most people don't watch
Halifax.
hockey.
Yeah, there was definitely talk from the CONCACAF president is Canadian, and he had made some noise about wanting to push the MLS franchises. Don't worry about how legally this would happen, but fold them or relocate them and then create Phoenix clubs in their place. But basically moving those clubs and fan bases into the Canadian Premier League, which was basically saying, we have a decent enough base with the Canadian Premier League. Give us 3 marquee franchises and we can make that league something versus what it is now. It's been talked about. Like there's certainly been some pressure. So yeah, I'd agree with you that it's certainly on their mind to keep them there. And then the last piece of FC Cincinnati news is clearly that was a lot of FC Cincinnati news is Chido Awazim back in training. Don't necessarily expect him to start this next game, but it is good to see that it certainly was not a end of the season, or at least end of the entire year for old Cheeto with his injury. He is working his way back. Thank God. If this team is going to if this team is going to go anywhere, it is going to need Cheeto to do it.
Yeah, so. I'm kind of curious. I would expect they're going to start him back slowly.
Yeah,
but by the same token, I don't know. Like they desperately, we talked about this in segment 3 preview, spoiler. They definitely need a win just to get the mojo working. Yeah. Good news though. I mean, for all it looked when it happened live, I thought that was a season ender for Cheeto. So the fact that he's at all possibly available this weekend is shocking. So
yeah, I think I already said what I had to say about Cheetos, so I'm going to talk about something else. Reports were that Monterrey is making overtures for Cucho.
Ooh, best of luck. Extra time mentioning
best of luck to them on that.
Best of luck to them on that. And it does kind of make the Bertarame move a little bit more attractive if the hole in their lineup that he leaves in their lineup is one that they feel the need to fill with Cucho.
Yeah, my new thing I'm looking forward to is maybe some other team realized that Bertarame was available and will then pay Monterrey's asking price for him so that we get the benefit of Cucho leaving to go to Mexico, but also don't sign Bertarame, who I'm not that excited about adding to this team.
I mean, having watched that U.S. men's national team game, there were 2 players on that field who FC Cincinnati reportedly made 8-figure bids for. And there was also Brandon Vasquez, and the best looking player was Brandon Vasquez. So right. I don't know, whatever. But anyway, that's an off season. That's an off season issue, I guess. So here's the thing. Here's the thing about Vasquez, right?
Yeah.
Is Vasquez is not as attractive to coaching staffs and stuff because the contributions he makes are all based on like his own abilities and physicality and size and stuff, right? And when Brandon Vasquez comes on the field and is able to like, you know, win headers and hold up the ball and get opportunities by like being bigger and muscling out guys and getting up for a header, it doesn't make coaches feel smart because it wasn't done through like the offense they designed. Right.
Yeah, it's why Wondolowski was always degraded and like his contributions were minimized. It was like, oh, he's a poacher. He's just right time, right place. It's like, my man, that's a skill set. And you know what?
Right.
I don't give a shit how the goal gets scored. I just want the goal to get scored.
And I'll tell you, like looking at the Bengals this year, if you were told like, you know, we're going to go through like schemes like an offense designed by the coaching staff, or we're just going to say, fuck it, Jamar's down there somewhere. Your money's on Jamar's down there somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's all I got to say about that.
But let me ask you this. Who's more likely to leave Monterrey, Bertarame or Vasquez? Because it seems like Vasquez is the underperformer of the two.
Yeah, but Bertarame they can make more money off of. And it seems like Bertarame wants... Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean,
well, he's got that $15 million release clause, so you can just get him.
Right.
Yeah.
But... And there's zero scenario where FC Cincinnati goes back and says like, we're going to pay, you know, $9 million for Vasquez and make him a DP.
The worst bit of
and
business ever.
Like, in their defense, if they suddenly made FC Cincinnati like a DP, I think none of us would have liked it.
If that was the plan, that would be a genius move by Albright, is that you sell Brandon Vasquez, get the GAM conversion, and then buy him back as a DP where GAM and transfer don't factor into it. Like, this would be a brilliant move with any of your players if you could just sell them for 1 year, get the GAM transfer, and then buy them back immediately the next year. You don't have to pay that GAM back.
That's true.
That is, it's a little GAM money laundering there.
What's the purpose of GAM if not to launder it? It's fake money. You should launder it.
It's a good point.
Like, the person they should be hiring on these MLS teams are people that are mobbed up that figure out how to make money move around. Get somebody from one of the 5 families in New York. You'll figure this system out real quick, how you can make piles of money move around and disappear.
Would this team have been better served if we brought in Vasquez as a DP when Bupenza left?
Yes.
Yes.
100%.
Of course, the answer is yes.
100%. So then, big man score goals is good. We like that.
Also, the pop when he came in for the first time would have been electric.
Yep.
His first touch has gotten better in Mexico.
Yeah, it did. Yeah. He had some nice touches at the game last night. And then the whole thing where it's like, oh, well, you know, like Sargent didn't get any service or stuff. I don't know, man. Brandon Vasquez gets like 8 feet in the air. He makes his own service. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
Right.
Like, yeah, maybe Sargent can do like 7 things better than Vasquez can, but none of those turned into a shot on target. Anyway.
Right.
I blame Greg Berhalter personally.
Anyway.
Oh God. And then finally, I did not mention this before. I went for a long time on the last episode with Chief explaining how we could or could not qualify for CONCACAF Champions Cup. I was wrong. We're basically in. The only scenario in which we don't get in, I guess, Grayson, you have this more top of mind, but it's only a tiny weird chance that we don't get in. And correct me if I'm wrong. It's if we lose and Seattle and RSL pick up points on decision day.
Yeah, because they would be ahead of us on points then.
Okay. Yeah. So they both would need to pick up points. We would need to lose. And then a team that has not already qualified for CONCACAF Champions Cup to then win MLS Cup.
Yeah. So there was some misinformation. There was some misinformation going around.
It's a funny way of saying ignorance.
I
will say it took like 4 lawyers interpreting 2 different rule books to prove me wrong. So I feel pretty okay about
I'm not saying you. First of all, I'm not saying you interpreted misinformation. However, it did not take anybody any time. It just took somebody looking at the actual rule book for a second to figure it out. So that
doesn't sound likely.
There was misinformation going around that because the way it's like typically written is that with the standings, it's done by supporter shield standings. And there were some people who went around, which in their defense, in past years, this was true, was that the tiebreaker for supporter shield is wins. Folks were saying that the tiebreaker for CONCACAF Champions League qualification was goal difference, which has been true in the past. It's not true this year. This year, Champions League follows the rules of the league that the teams are competing in.
Imagine that.
Which I think is reasonable because you're competing by the rules of the league you're in. You're not competing by it's absurd to do tiebreakers by a different standard than the league they're in because the league has designed its tiebreakers to incentivize certain kinds of play.
Right.
And so you're just following the incentives. So we're currently ahead on the first tiebreaker of both Seattle and Salt Lake, even though we are tied on points. Okay.
Yes.
So both of them would have to pick up more points than us on decision day to knock us out of a current Champions League qualifying spot. Because right now we're the top 3 teams in the supporter shield standings that haven't qualified, and nobody else can get up into those spots because Miami, Columbus, Galaxy, and LAFC have all already qualified.
Ooh, but wait. Okay, so let me throw a wrinkle in that.
Hold on.
There is a scenario. Unlikely, but there is a scenario where LAFC wins the West. Does that change?
No, because they've already qualified. Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right. So if LAFC won the West, Galaxy would get that next qualification spot, which would mean that only one of the 3 of us would qualify based on supporter shield standings between us, Seattle, and Salt Lake. Okay.
1 or 2?
1. If LAFC wins
the West.
No, because LAFC's already qualified.
Yeah, they were second. They came second.
So it wouldn't make a difference.
It doesn't make a difference.
Okay. Because then it just comes down to Galaxy. But then, because then there's 3 that get in based on supporter shield instead of 2.
Okay.
Okay. So then, if Seattle and
sorry, I just wanted to make it more confusing.
If Seattle and Salt Lake both jump us, then I think we still get in unless somebody who hasn't already qualified wins MLS Cup. But what, like Orlando or NYCFC?
Yeah, you would need Inter Miami, Columbus, both the LA clubs, in Colorado to all not win MLS Cup.
Which is cool because, like, neat. Now we don't have to worry about the Open Cup next year. Or maybe we do. Who knows? They haven't decided that either.
We don't know the rules.
And we get that sweet, sweet extra gam. That's all I care about. That sweet, fun, fake money that we're going to launder.
So there you go. That is that's going to be your FC Cincinnati news there. Is there anything else that we have missed?
Remember, always ask if you're being detained.
Yes, of course.
And they have to tell you if they're a cop. Even if they're undercover, they have to tell you if they're a cop.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, hey, let's head on over to part 2. There's a couple of soccer or MLS adjacent, soccer at large topics we definitely want to hit on. And then we'll head on over to part 3 where we will preview the game with a special guest. So let's go ahead and do that. Oh, and before we get to the next part of the episode, I do want to tell you about our friends over at Cincy Shirts. They have been with us from the beginning. They were one of the very first supporters of FC Cincinnati. They were our very first sponsor here at the Post. We absolutely love them. They have the best gear for all of your Cincinnati sports, Cincinnati memorabilia. You got a fun community that you're a part of. They probably have a relevant Cincy shirt for you on their website or in one of their 3 locations. They're in Oakley Hyde Park, they're in Loveland, and they're over in Fort Mitchell in Kentucky. Really, really good people. They will print on demand in their shop. If they have a design on their website that they are not, if they don't have stock in their store, they will print on demand for you. They are awesome. One thing that I promise you they will never have stock of, but absolutely do sell, are the Post shirts. They have shirts from us. We have made designs that are up on the website. You can find a link to them in the description of this episode. Go check them out in person, and if you tell them which design you want printed on a shirt right then and there, they'll do it for you. It's great, and I know it's great because I've been able to do it myself. Really good folks. And hey, while you're there picking up Post merch or Bengals merch or anything else, you drop this code, ThePostCincy, all one word, all caps, get 10% off your next order. Again, the promo code is ThePostCincy. 10% off your next order for anything from Cincy Shirts. It's an awesome, awesome deal. Click the link in the description below as well for links to our merch. Otherwise, a huge thank you to Cincy Shirts for sponsoring this episode. And thank you, listener, for using that code. All right, we are back, and boy, there was some fun stuff in the world of soccer the last couple of days even, and I don't know where do we want to go first on this one.
I don't know. Do you have the balls to tackle this first topic here, Kevin?
In a way, that might be the problem, that I do have the balls to tackle this first topic.
The testicular fortitude required to discuss women's soccer.
It is so. Just to set it up for a second.
Yeah, if you didn't follow this at all.
NWSL, the top division for women's soccer in this country, I should say co-top division, as the USL Super League is up and running as a tier 1 league as well. But NWSL is pretty much the best women's league in the world, and they are expanding. They had already previously announced that they were expanding to Boston. They are looking for an expansion partner to go with them. We will touch on that in a moment, but Cincinnati isn't in the running. And Boston just announced the team name and some of the branding around their team. I should note, though, there was already an NWSL team in Boston. They were the Boston Breakers. It is a team that Rose Lavelle played for, and they folded. There was a little bit of contraction in the NWSL a couple of years ago, but now they are back on the expansion front. And the Boston team, like I said, announced their name and brand identity over the last couple of days, and I cannot think of a worst team name that has come out in the last 30, 40 years at the professional level.
It's pretty bad. And that's
NWSL
that's saying something too, because there's been some pretty bad.
So the name is Boss Nation, but that is spelled capital B, capital O, capital S, Nation. Only one S. Allegedly, it is an anagram for Bostonian. But as Jeff Reuter pointed out on Twitter, so is onion bats. So I don't know why Boss Nation needed to be picked over onion bats.
Because clearly onions would be the balls.
Well, yeah,
and not the bats.
Grayson, would you like to explain why we keep making balls jokes?
Yeah.
Because we're all incredibly sophomoric and juvenile. At least I am.
There is that, but there is a reason.
So Boss Nation, are they Boss Nation FC?
I think so.
Okay, so
Boss Nation
FC announced themselves and their branding and their team colors with a video about all of the Boston sports, and they put out videos of like the Red Sox, the Celtics, the Patriots, the Bruins. I think the Bruins, although it didn't, that doesn't really fit with the
they called them frozen balls.
Yeah.
It was weird.
And then
Rubber
they
balls.
said and then the theme of it was, there's like good sports in Boston, but too many balls. And
you should have a doctor look at that if that's the case.
and so then they're like, oh, obviously it's a reference to like, these are all men's teams, and it's time for a women's team, which impliedly, so it literally says like, there's a billboard. There are too many balls in this town, which sounds like there's too many men in Boston. Like we gotta get them out.
It is kind of a threat,
right? We need more Lance Armstrongs in this town.
So it says Boston loves its balls, but maybe there are too many balls in this town.
Which
deflated balls.
And so if you follow the metaphor, it's like the balls are obviously representing the men, but also like the balls are the balls that you need to play the game. Right. So it would suggest that they want to reduce the number of franchises, or they're just sort of ignoring the fact that they have to add a ball to the collection.
Well, at the end, and they're like no more balls. Well, maybe just one. And it was like a woman kicking the soccer ball, but it doesn't work, and it doesn't work for a whole host of reasons that others have articulated better than we have. Like one, there's like an insane thing at the Wall Street Journal when they reported about the branding. They were like, oh, we're doing so their explanation for the branding is really stupid. They were like, so here's a quote from the Wall Street Journal, okay?
Please.
Boss Nation's branding with its black, green, and raspberry color palette, raspberry, come on, is less overtly feminine, deliberately so, she said. Market research found that 60% of the people who plan to become dedicated fans of the city's NWSL team are male. Femininity isn't part of who we're trying to appeal to, she said. It's sort of irrelevant in many ways. Which is totally incoherent with a too many balls campaign, which, as others have appointed, not only seems like you're saying like there's too many balls in this town, it seems like you're trying to like exclude men expressly from your campaign. Yeah, some people also pointed out that it's potentially gender essentialist and transphobic, which I think the trans community is like also like a fairly, I don't know the numbers, right? But I bet that I would guess that there are some trans individuals who are NWSL fans.
I'm just loving the idea that when you buy a ticket to go see Boss Nation, that when you walk in, they do a cup check on you to see if you're allowed to be in there. Right. So you scan your ticket, ball tag right there. If you fall down, it's like, you're not allowed in here. We have too many balls already.
Because the funny thing was when I first saw the Boss Nation branding, which came out before the Too Many Balls video, like I think the Boss Nation branding or the name came out like a day or two before the video came out. My first thought was Bofa. right. I'm like, oh, Bofa D's soccer teams or whatever. You know, I don't know. But that whatever.
Bofa jokes always play. I'm sorry.
But also when they came out, they acknowledged all of the Boston. They acknowledged like the men's Boston teams, but did not acknowledge like the Boston professional women's hockey team. Which people also pointed out was weird.
But also by not mentioning them, probably the most press that the Boston women's hockey team has received.
Sure. But if your whole thing is like there's no women's professional sports or whatever, it's the problem is it's not the only problem with it, but a problem with it is it's just incoherent. That they're going to put out this article that says like, well, we're being irreverent because we're not being like, we're trying to get the bros in. Right. But you're also saying like, we don't want them. We don't want the bros.
But we know that they're going to buy tickets anyway. So come on.
The anti-bro.
It's like, we don't want any he's, hims, theys, thems, zers,
D's, does.
We're only for like assigned female at birth. Like it's just. And then also we're going
our pronouns are Boss Nation.
And also we're going to ignore the other women's professional team in the city entirely. Like we're going to erase them out of existence. It's a mess. It's a mess.
Who signed off on this? Like who was sitting in a room first off and said Boss Nation, which BOS. You got me if that was how you spell boss.
It's a reference. It's like clearly like they were like, oh, we can say like girl boss nation. But it's just it's also incoherent with like you're like, OK, we're girl boss nation, but we're also going to be irreverent because we get the bros in. But also we don't want them.
Just it feels like every single part along the process, somebody should have been like, are we sure about this? Should we ask an adult if this is the right thing to do? Right here.
The only thing that makes sense is if like the marketing company came up with 3 ideas and one of them was the one they wanted them to go with and the other 2 were so bad they would have to go with the one that they liked, and they presented them and the ownership group failed the test and picked one of the shitty ones.
I'm begging people before you start your soccer franchise, call us. Call the Post Cincy. You don't even have to call us. Call quite literally anyone. Call any soccer fan and just be like, is this a good idea on its face? And if they do anything, if there's anything other than an enthusiastic hell yeah, you maybe go back and don't fall in love with your rough draft so much. Don't fall in love with your first draft and think about revising the process.
I'm going to send you guys an image. The banner image from the ad agency that they used for their campaign.
All right, this is some real-time reaction right here. We got to load. Oh my God. Okay, so no matter what you think in terms of its level of transphobic, male-phobic,
waiting to find a
male-centric.
woman on this website. Very difficult.
No, it's probably not there. Why would you lean into equipment conversation.
There's
given
a woman that works there.
The nation's current political climate, why would we be talking about what's between people's legs? I feel like I get enough of that on the anti-Sherrod Brown ads every other commercial break. I'm cool, like not dealing with that, not talking about that. And there was no reason to bring that up at all.
Bernie Moreno thinks there's too many balls in women's sports.
Sherrod Brown wants more balls in women's sports.
It really does work for like if you were to organize a relocate the Bengals like out of Hamilton County, you would organize a too many balls campaign and say Hamilton County has too many balls in the air and we need to get one out of here. Don't vote to approve the tax levy or whatever.
When the name first came out a couple days ago, there was an article that made a reference that I did not read this article closely. I saw a reference to a website, toomanyballs.com.
Yeah.
My assumption, just when I saw the name, was that it was like a no Olympics type of organization. That it was like some website that's like trying to like get out, that's trying to like criticize the like kind of infinite expansion of professional sports in cities because they're against like
this is just a new thing from the guy that runs Field of Schemes or something like that.
Yes, exactly. They're against all this like subsidies and public money that goes into professional sports.
Someone that unironically says sports ball.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Too many balls, not enough tracks.
Too many balls, not enough professors balls. Is what the problem is right now. So just general question for the group.
Okay.
Why is it so hard for people just to promote NWSL like a fun product, a good competitive product? Just, it doesn't need to be different, right? It can just be, this is soccer. You love soccer. Go watch soccer. Like, why is this so damn hard whenever people try to talk about this and do this?
Because, well, it's a couple of things. One is people, especially people like the ownership group, frankly, behind Boss Nation FC, that come out of like marketing and a design kind of business backgrounds. They want to act like that's doing something. And it's like a real product and like they're like doing some type of science or something. So they come out and they're like, oh, we got this really creative thing and it's just like, it's like self-explanatory.
Right.
That just was like a valuable thing that somebody was doing because a lot of people spent time on it.
These are people that like they'll be very excited when their sizzle reel wins an award versus but for like the advertising conventions.
Yeah. But also there is a self-consciousness in American soccer, just like to kind of apologize for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And what ultimately, I guess, rubs me the wrong way about the too many balls theme is it's a zero-sum philosophy. It's like there's too many men here. Let's stop with that. And we're doing women now.
Right.
Whereas like the WNBA had like a "We Got Next" slogan.
Yeah.
And like, is it the most creative thing you've ever heard? No. Right. But it's like,
it works.
It works because it's a growth mindset, growth kind of philosophy, right? It's like we're expanding the pie for everybody. We're including women now. We're not kicking men out, right? And not to do the gender binary, right?
But not only that too, it's like it's such a great basketball inclusive term because anyone that's played pickup before just knows we got next. Doesn't matter who you are, you got next. I also want to correct you, Grayson. There's no wrong way to rub your balls as long as you're having a good time with it.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I don't know what I said that corrects.
You know exactly what you said. No, what always kills me is that the NWSL, Chief, to your point, is like they are the best women's soccer league in the world. You can quibble about UEFA's Champions League, although it's still only like a 6 to 8 team race.
It's a tournament. It's not a league.
Right. And I think the NWSL should be treating itself like the Premier League treats itself, which is like we matter because we matter. Like we are important because we have all of the best players in the world, because every good player on planet Earth recognizes us as where they want to be. And if you want to watch the best soccer in the world, you watch it right here in the United States.
We're bringing world-class soccer to Boston.
Yeah.
Right? Like no shade to the Revolution. But one, they don't play in Boston, and two, MLS isn't the best men's league in the world.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it maybe people view that as like a little shade, but it's really not. Right. It's just like we're bringing the best of the best to Boston. Right. You don't need to like joke about it. You don't need to like take digs at your fans. About it. You'll need to like make people feel weird about like whether they're coming or not coming to games, right? It's just, do you like watching world-class soccer? Let's do that.
Cool.
But here.
Because the dream for a Boston specific NWSL team is to capture these sort of dissatisfied Revolution fan that lives in Boston.
Yeah.
Like that's your dream market. So why would you immediately go and shit on that market?
It's one of the easiest cities in America to like the culture and the identity of Boston. It's so easy to capture. It's so easy to capture that sort of Boston energy. You almost have to try hard to avoid it by doing something dippy like this.
And specifically to that point, I'm pretty sure most of the highlights, I did not go back and analyze it that closely, but the couple of highlights I noticed were Angel City FC highlights, which LA and Boston have a pretty historic rivalry between the two cities. And it's weird to highlight LA goals when there was a Boston NWSL franchise that maybe you don't want to acknowledge too much, but like if you're going to put a couple of random goals being scored, here's the league, maybe you use some Boston goals. I don't know. Weird choices all the way around.
I'll just add that I'm more than a little suspicious that they were dissuaded from using anything specifically Boston.
Yeah, don't remind people that it failed at one point here.
Right, but also like don't try to be too like unique. Like I think this is a thing I've noticed in MLS, like they're not big about like promoting like regional character around the clubs, or like differentiating them based on like where they are.
I mean, hell, I think it's a big deal that you can go to the team shop now and buy an FCC shirt that says established 2015.
Yeah. I think that's one, because they just want to standardize stuff as much as possible because it's cheaper. Two, with the way they sell their product, it's like a group like product and not like an individual like fan base product. And three, you can, if nobody has a regional identity, you can just like kind of move clubs around.
Right.
Pro rel for cities as opposed to clubs.
Yep.
What I've learned from this entire process is here's my free advice to anyone that is listening from the FCC marketing team that may be involved in any eventual NWSL to FC Cincinnati or NWSL to Cincinnati.
Let us do it for you.
Your promo when you announce this team should just be Rose Lavelle walking onto the field at TQL, Lucho Acosta walking off. They dap each other up and just vamos, cut to black. That's all you need.
Perfect.
Boom.
Like,
boom.
Perfect.
This isn't hard.
Perfect.
Introducing the Cincinnati Vamos, the women's team.
Queen City Vamos. I'm all right with that. That's got a ring to it. That'd play.
That would be funny. And little heart hands. Just all of the cultures taken from the MLS.
And if we don't get it, somebody better leak that Jimmy Haslam is the
Antichrist.
secret money behind the Cleveland bid. Because I don't know that they necessarily want to highlight. I don't know for a fact that Jimmy Haslam was behind the Cleveland bid. I will tell you that the people that are front facing on it don't appear to have the kind of money that would make them competitive.
It'd be a real shame if potential voters for the NWSL were to learn that their secret investor employs not one but two people that have settled out of court for sexual assault lawsuits in Jameis Winston and Deshaun Watson.
And if you go by number of lawsuits, it's like 25 people.
Yeah. Like 27, I think 26 for Deshaun and like 1 or 2 for Jameis.
I can't do math.
And they keep popping up for
old Deshaun.
Yeah.
Be a real shame if, like they cut a quarterback that is now leading the NFL in touchdown passes and second in passer rating. That'd be crazy though.
If they do give it to Cleveland and it does come out that Jimmy Haslam is involved with that bid, their announcement video should just be the Yates report.
I know a great truck stop they can do the PR, the press conference at. Speaking of NWSL expansion and cities, not that it wasn't confirmed, but is first confirmed here on the postcast last week. FC Cincinnati is still very much alive. Any rumors about Cleveland being assured a bid were total nonsense. Don't believe what you read on Reddit. Believe less of what you see on the internet. Generally a good practice.
Believe even less what you hear on this podcast.
But this podcast,
this
podcast, right?
This is the one thing.
Pretty good.
This is. You don't need to have a license plate if you put on the back of your car registered to the LLC of your name and state that you were traveling pursuant to your constitutional rights. We all know this. Everyone knows this. Kevin, we made the list of 5 that they're taking visits to.
Hell yeah. It really seems like a no-brainer. I know TQL Stadium was built with a women's team in mind. The Mercy Health Training Center complex is
expandable,
planned for.
It can accommodate a women's team.
They're ready for it. Yeah. Every single commentator and talking head in the league and in American soccer says that TQL Stadium is the best soccer stadium in the country. Feels like a no-brainer, so long as.
So we should probably say that who we are competing with is Cleveland, Denver, Nashville, and Philadelphia. And of those cities, I believe we are the only ownership group that is connected to the current MLS team in the city. If I'm reading this correctly.
That sounds right. I can't imagine Colorado would be.
No, it's not. It's not. Colorado would be. Who's the dude that owns Arsenal?
Stan Kroenke. So
Kroenke's group is not connected to that. The Philadelphia Eagles are behind and some people that are former Eagles players are connected to the Philly development. And then Cleveland, it's the Haslams.
We don't know that for the fact.
Right. No, it's a widely believed fact.
A source with first-hand knowledge of the initial Nashville bid said the team's control owner would be Dhiren Javeri, the CEO of Chicago area financial services firm Kuvari Holdings. Also the DeBartolo family, if I'm remembering the story correctly. That person has withdrawn from the Nashville group. The bid group also includes Lisa DeBartolo, the daughter of late 49ers owner Eddie DeBartolo and CEO of the DeBartolo Family Foundation, according to Marshall, multiple sources. That would be another Ohio connection. I think they were originally Akron based.
Would that Nashville team play in the new NFL stadium? I know they're building them They
would play at Geodis Park.
But they wouldn't own, since they're not part of the ownership group, they would not own Geodis Park. They'd have to pay rent. My recollection is the Philly team, they think, would play at Lincoln Financial Field, which would just be a disaster, like playing NWSL soccer in an NFL facility. And the Denver group does not have a stadium site that I saw, and Cleveland would have to build a facility. So if you're handicapping all of these bids, Cincinnati is far and away the most ready to play, and also would not be financially hamstrung with having to pay rent for a building since they own the building they would be playing in.
Or even building a new one. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So it's just a question, I think, of I've heard, capital H heard, that it's going to be just a question of the valuation of the expansion bid price at this point would be the guess that I have based on things around the zeitgeist.
I would hope that NWSL would be farsighted. So the Sports Business Journal article referenced that some of the MLS co-owned teams aren't necessarily their highest earning or most marketable teams or whatever. But the ones that they referenced were like Houston, Salt Lake, and Orlando, which aren't the most marketable teams in MLS.
They also just gave a team to Salt Lake just recently.
Yep.
So like they can't be that bothered by it.
But on top of that, like I would hope that they would understand that, like, yeah, like the expansion fee is the expansion fee, but like, you have to allot some value to the one built-in fan base that the team would have, to the ability to play in TQL Stadium, which has to be the best package in any professional soccer league in the US. And three, like, it's Mercy Health Training Center was like the preferred training center for the U.S. national team under Greg Berhalter. And, you know, like it was built with, you know, to accommodate them. Right. So the team has already, but without a franchise, like without a bid, already invested money to accommodate it. Like this is a group that is committed.
Yeah.
You know?
It's also not the same ownership group.
Not exactly. Right.
Not exactly the same ownership group.
Because Meg Whitman is reportedly would be the primary owner. There are some members of we don't know which ones, but there would be some members of FC Cincinnati's ownership group that would be involved in the women's team, but then also some other individuals from around the city who aren't currently in the FC Cincinnati ownership group would be involved in the women's team.
Yeah, it would be still owned by the company that owns FC Cincinnati, but the primary controlling owner, whereas it's Carl Linder for FC Cincinnati, the primary controlling owner would be Meg Whitman on the other side. So it's like you're getting the benefits of everything FCC owns with your own owner who can be a front person for that. And honestly, a spokesperson and a person that you can put out in front in terms of getting more investment for the league. I mean, Meg Whitman, we don't talk about her probably as much as we should in this city as being an incredibly influential and positive force in our ownership group, but she's incredibly well respected. She's a diplomat currently over in, I believe, Kenya. I think Kenya.
Yeah, she's the ambassador to Kenya.
Yeah, so she's the U.S. ambassador to Kenya. She's well thought of in terms of her international acumen. She's well thought of in the United States. She, from everything I have heard and everything I've seen about the club, has been a tremendously positive influence in terms of the club's overall ambition level and where the club is currently. She seems like she would be a home run addition to the ownership group of NWSL. I feel like at this point, and I know we're an FC Cincinnati podcast, we have to say things like this. It feels to me like they would be looking for a reason. We don't, but you know, it feels like they would be looking for a reason to go elsewhere if they don't pick Cincinnati for this bid.
Right. Yeah. I mean, Meg Whitman is she's like a real player.
Yeah.
Right.
Like somebody who would show up as a villain on an episode of Billions. Right.
Like, or would suddenly
ran for governor.
Yeah, would suddenly change the state of play on like Madam Secretary, would show up and be like, oh, the nomination is in question now.
Yep.
Right.
Like everybody's got their different ownership groups, but like, you know, Meg Whitman was like the Boston group. It's like, oh yeah, they're in VC and one of them had like a yoga mat company for a little bit. Meg Whitman was like the CEO of eBay and Hewlett Packard.
Right. Meg Whitman was one of the two owners originally behind the Sacramento.
Quibi. Okay.
No, to Sacramento.
Yeah, given how long our episodes run, we can't say anything about Quibi.
This is like 18 Quibbies
this
long.
Is not a quick bite, if you will.
No, she was one of the original investors behind the Sacramento to MLS movement, and her leaving that Sacramento bid probably opened the door to us even getting a franchise, let alone then becoming a part of our franchise. But Grayson, it did kind of cracked me up, the mentioning like the not the wanting the joint MLS ownership groups as a part of NWSL. I'm thinking of like the teams with a built-in fan base with the men's team attached to it all tend to be the better supported and what on the outside look like healthier franchises, with North Carolina, Louisville, Seattle, Portland, and LAFC Angel City. Like,
yeah, so
it's a funny one.
Yeah, it's interesting because the teams that get the most attendance, which I don't know I've not really I haven't like looked up everybody's kind of ownership stuff, but like obviously like Portland, Seattle, San Diego, LA, Kansas City. Like these are places with MLS teams. Like I don't know if like if they have ownership overlap with the teams, but I assume at least some of them play in, like the Portland Thorns play in Providence Park, and I think that I think actually they very pointedly don't have ownership with don't share ownership with the Portland Timbers anymore.
I don't know that that's actually gone through, but
Angel City
has
FC
said he wanted to say
Angel City FC play at BMO Stadium.
They do. Now, I will say Angel City, they intentionally copied LAFC. When they were founded, they had nothing to do with them other than renting their stadium. Right, yeah. However, that is changing. LAFC is buying a 30% stake in Angel City in the next couple of months.
Well, if you wanted to compare us to if you wanted to compare us to an MLS franchise, right? Would you compare us to LAFC? Or would you compare us to Houston, Orlando, Salt Lake?
Yeah, it would be LA.
Like I know that flatters us a bit, but not as much as people would think.
It's funny that like the other ones would be Portland and Seattle and Atlanta. And Atlanta doesn't have one. And Portland and Seattle are model franchises. Well, on the field and in the stands, not necessarily in the executive suite. I do want to offer a quick correction.
The sale of the Thorns went through earlier this year to RHA Sports. So they still They still do play at Providence Park. They have a lease that goes there through I think like the mid 2030s.
But they kept Paulson out of ownership.
Yeah, probably for the best. All things considered.
Seattle. Jesus. Oh, Seattle was, but then the French team bought them.
And sold them back.
I don't know where they stand. Yeah, I don't know exactly where they stand now.
We're not going to talk about San Diego.
No, we don't talk about San Diego.
Fair enough. I don't know. Yeah, never mind.
I'll say that their owner is Ron Burkle.
I'm Ron Burkle.
I would hope not.
I do in fact believe that they share ownership then with the MLS team. So that takes us finally, speaking of stadiums around the United States, the Club World Cup. Chief, we had mentioned on the last episode that this was certainly in question as to whether or not it would actually happen. There's been some movement on that front.
For the better?
Well, depending on what outcome you want. I don't think there's any way for the players to get out of this without striking. That's my uneducated take. However, they did make a legal challenge. I don't know if I'm saying this correctly, Grayson. They've filed a petition. They've sued. What is going on with the Club World Cup?
It's not entirely clear to me, but the FIFPro, which is the organization that represents European players and also European leagues that represents national leagues and also La Liga from Spain.
Also, Shohei Ohtani just hit the biggest home run I have ever seen on a broadcast before. Holy shit.
All of these...
He's a part of this.
Yeah.
All of these organizations, except Shohei Ohtani, filed a complaint to the European Commission against FIFA over the international match calendar for 2025, which includes scheduling the FIFA Club World Cup. I have not been able to find a copy of the complaint, although I'm not entirely sure it would be in English. I kind of assume it would be. But the European Commission's in Brussels, but I assume that they use English as like their, or at least like stuff. Maybe stuff has to be filed in like multiple languages, like
I was going to say,
and
I
French
think
and German or something.
Yeah, there's like 7 languages. Everything needs to be published.
So if anybody locates an actual copy of what they filed, let us know, because I would be interested in reading it. But essentially, what they are arguing is that FIFA is engaged in what's called abuse of dominance, which is a European competition law concept that where like if you're dominant in if you're a dominant force in an industry and you're abusing it by imposing like anti-competitive rules that are only advanced to like that are only purpose is to advance your dominance, and you're just abusing your dominant position to the detriment of competitors. And we talked about in the past that like FIFA's power essentially comes from control of the World Cup. They get to decide who plays in the World Cup and what players are eligible to play in the World Cup.
To learn more about this, watch the film United Passions starring Gerard Butler.
Not Gerard Butler, Gerard Depardieu.
Oh, Depardieu, sorry. It'd be a lot better if Gerard Butler was in it.
Yeah, and Timothy Roth and Bill Nye.
Yeah. The science guy?
Yeah, sure. So FIFA controls the World Cup, and they get to decide what players are eligible to play in the World Cup. From there extends like all of the league sanctioning, the rules on the status and transfer of players, the governance of the continental federations, right? The establishment of international windows, where it's like, this is international competition and clubs have to release players. And if you don't comply, FIFA can sanction you, because then they can go down on like your players' eligibility to play or like suspend them from international competition, blah, 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 blah. We've talked about this in the past with regards to the ability of leagues to play competitive matches in other countries, which U.S. courts have kind of cracked down on and said, no, this is a geographical restriction to restrict competition. You can't do that. The European, I think the European Commission had this Super League opinion where like FIFA was going to say, like, if you participate in the Super League, any players for any teams that participate in the Super League are going to be ineligible to participate in the World Cup. And the commission said, well, no, like you need to come out with like transparent rules, and you can't just dictate whatever you want in this entire landscape, because it was like, I think it was also an abuse of dominance ruling. But it's interesting because FIFA's, a competitor with the national leagues. And
no doubt.
Like the national team competitions for every country have like television contracts and stuff, and FIFA has revenues it gets from FIFA competitions, and it gets to kick. And I assume the national federations and continental confederations all kick up to FIFA in various respects. Like, I've always viewed FIFA as and US Soccer and UEFA and CONCACAF and all these things as a bit of a free rider on the club competition, because at the elite level, the clubs are developing the players and they're paying the bulk of the player's salary, and they're taking on all the risk of like paying the players' contracts. And then FIFA comes in and says, no, you got to give me your guy for 2 weeks in October and in March, and also for a month in the summer, sometimes in the winter too. And if you don't, we're going to impose all these types of sanctions on you.
Yeah.
And I think, there's only a matter of time, because as the club game continues to grow monetarily and becomes more and more at stake for the clubs, it was only a matter of time before the leagues and the clubs and the players, given the workload, required of them, fought back, more sincerely. And I think ultimately the goal would be of all of it would be all of the stakeholders having more say in the international calendar and releasing players for international competition. Like
really,
like
truly,
not just FIFA dictating everything and then like protecting the little fiefdoms as part of their dictating everything.
It's the greatest trick FIFA has pulled is there is already a once every 4 years international soccer tournament that is the biggest deal in every other sport for which it offers competition. It's the Olympics.
Right.
The hockey gold medal in the Olympics, that's the pinnacle of international hockey. The NHL sends players. They put the season on hold when that happens.
But the NHL has also kind of, pushed back on that a bit.
A little bit. But like
in significant ways, but not, they still.
Baseball has definitely undercut
any
ability to do something like this.
But like the greatest trick FIFA has pulled is saying that our international competition and our international competitions trump the Olympics, trump the international competition. It's, I don't know, like the Club World Cup, it's a great idea in theory, but it's all too much. It's all too much. All of the international breaks. Kevin and I were railing on this last week. It's too much. There is too many international breaks. There are too many international duties that players have to compete in. At some point, something's got to give. And I'll tell you, FIFA seems to have this insatiable desire to make even more money than it's already making. At a certain point, enough's enough. And like pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered.
Mm-hmm.
And we're reaching hogs get slaughtered portions with FIFA on this. And finally, the players, the clubs, they're not going to keep putting up with this indefinitely. At some point, if you're running FIFA, you got to consider making a tactical retreat on something.
This expanded Club World Cup where it's like, we're going to do the World Cup, but with club teams next summer. So like a very similar level of commitment.
Right. Which is fine if you don't do the World Cup, clubs. It's fine. Yeah. If you were to get rid of the World Cup and just make the Olympics the thing and say, okay, we're getting rid of the World Cup. We're seeding the World Cup back to the Olympics, and the FIFA Cup is just going to be the Club World Cup once every 4 years. You probably get away with that. Well, but you can't have everything. You can't have everything.
Well, even like this year, right? There was Copa America and the Olympics. And it's frankly, I know why they did it, but it's frankly absurd to expect FC Cincinnati to pay Miles Robinson a max TAM salary
to not be
and
here.
then just let him go for 2 months. Like that's it, like I'm not putting that on Miles. I'm putting that on because I understand why Miles would want to go, but it's a ridiculous ask from the international organizations to like put that in club teams and just think club teams are going to sit down and take it. And
especially in a salary capped league like MLS, where it's like you can't sign extra players to make up for the fact that you lose these players. I started my old man about this a week or two ago. And his point is, I would get rid of Miles Robinson. It's not worth how much you lose him for how good he is on the field. Like, you're better off with 2/3 of Miles Robinson that's available all the time.
Yeah. I'm not going to,
it's not his fault. I mean, it's not Miles's fault. I don't dislike Miles for doing it. It's just a calculation that if the international game is going to be this way to a certain extent, you cannot function if your best players are gone for as much time as Miles was this year.
Yeah.
Imagine if like the Bengals drafted a wide receiver that they knew would be missing 4 games every season.
It's
for
called
the
a
next
holdout.
6 seasons.
Where have you been?
Yeah. Well, but sure. But I just like if it was built into every season, they were going to be missing like 3 weeks. You'd be valuing that player very differently. You would be looking at that guy.
Congratulations
very
on Joe Burrow. You're going to have to start Jake Browning for some of the most important games of the year because Joe Burrow is off on international duty.
Right. And I do think FIFA overplayed their hand, especially by saying directly to the club teams, we want more club teams and we want more games for the club teams, because there had always been this sort of FIFA does the international teams things and then the club teams do the club team things. Okay, so there's this weird Club World Cup, but nobody really cares. And it only is 8 teams and one of them's a host city.
It's a FIFA tournament.
Nobody cares. Right. But the second FIFA started expanding that and started saying, oh, people are going to care more and we're going to add all this money. Sure, you have all of these other issues, but UEFA looks at that and says that's a Champions League competitor.
Well, UEFA just expanded the Champions League and they get to do that because of the like essentially license that FIFA grants them as the Continental Confederation of Europe. They get to dictate to all these teams like, no, this is the Champions League format now, and nobody understands it and everybody hates it, but it makes us more money. And that's really the way of the world. But it's only the way of the world until, the leagues really push you on it. And the European Commission says like, no, you don't get to control like every aspect of international and club competition and just dictate what these teams do with their employees and dictate to these employees how much they have to work outside of the context of a collective bargaining agreement, whatever. Chief, go.
Got it. I got it. This is how we fix it. Click to cancel. We click to cancel the Club World Cup. We click to cancel all of these things. It must be as easy to cancel as it was to sign up. The entire world, we are clicking to cancel FIFA expanding this.
I love that it's FIFA sends an email to Barcelona. Congratulations, you have made it to the Club World Cup, and they just delete the email.
Click to cancel. Unsubscribe.
Mark as unread and delete. All right. We never saw this. It never happened.
You have to give me a right to cancel. It's the law.
Yeah. I mean, this is always the inevitable end of this, is that the organizing body is also the rule-making body, and that is going to come to a head at a certain point. FIFA can't be both the party organizer and the party police. They got to be one or the other.
Yeah, what they're arguing, to use some official language, is that FIFA has it imposes decisions on the international calendar. That's an abuse of dominance because FIFA's in a conflict of interest because of, as a participant and a regulator and a dominant regulator. And so given its conflict of interest, FIFA must exercise its regulatory functions in a way that is transparent, objective, non-discriminatory, and proportionate so as to neutralize this conflict of interest. And what that would essentially do is, as I said, we said, create more of a collaborative process for this. So you would have some form of, I don't know exactly what it would look like country to country, but you'd have some form of like players unions that negotiate with FIFA over the calendar, and the leagues would negotiate. Like you'd have a bunch of more voices in on the calendar, or FIFA, I guess, more likely FIFA would be taking input from all these things and then would put out the match calendar and rules, but would have to be in a position where it has to constantly kind of be at the risk of having to defend those decisions. So effectively you would expect them to put out stuff that, takes more interest into account.
I like it. Yeah. I mean, really what it should be is that all the confederations get together and negotiate some sort of tournament, or even a World Champions League that sits on top of it. So if a club makes it, to the final 3 of their Champions League in their region or their confederation, then they would the following season compete on a world tournament or World League.
Like, I'm not sure that in every 4 years Club World Cup isn't where it would go. Right. But it's just like, how do you juggle all of the various competitions that players have to play in? And there doesn't seem to be any consideration at all when we're adding competitions of what the player's already involved in, and also in like what other competitions are being expanded.
Right. It's, sure, you're doing this, but also, like you said, Champions League is doubling the number of matches teams are playing. You've got other cup competitions that are popping up or are wanting to expand home and away legs and things like that. Yeah, absolutely. And it's very, very interesting when you look at the number of games young players are playing in now, especially on these big teams. That's kind of the funny thing, too, is that like these are sort of champagne problems that once you get to like mid-table and below, the roster, the schedule congestion doesn't really exist for these teams. Like Everton never plays too many matches a year, I'll tell you that much. But if you're Real Madrid, you're playing twice as many matches as Real Betis or whatever in La Liga. So interesting times.
I just weep for the future of the International Confederations Cup, presented on a yearly basis in the United States of America, played by top tier Premier League teams going through the motions. RIP.
Or Super League, but with member nations or, member countries from all over the world. That's where it ends up.
Love it.
So there you go. LA Galaxy, founding members of the new World Super League. It'd be Inter Miami. Anyway, let's get on over to part 3. We've got a very special guest with us to preview the Philadelphia Union match this weekend. So let's do that, and let's wrap up this podcast. All right, we are back, part 3, and I just for 1 second, if you all will indulge me, I'm going to read a couple of Patreon questions. So again, if you subscribe to the Patreon for a couple of bucks a month, you get to ask us a question, just the one question a month. It's a very prestigious question you get to ask. And I'm just going to read a couple of the questions I have here. Question 1, how's intern Luke doing? Question 2, what happened to intern Luke? He seemed to have dissolved into the ether without a farewell. Will you have another intern? Then there was another question from KP asking, what happened to the $60 I gave Grayson so you could pay your intern for 4 hours of work? A lot of people worried about intern Luke, a lot of people concerned for the whereabouts and well-being of intern Luke. Who better to answer those questions than the one and only intern Luke? Luke, how are you doing? The people demand to know.
I'm doing good. Where is the $60?
Well, you'll get it. You'll get it on Saturday.
Ooh, there you go. The ceremonial paying of the intern will happen at the live show.
It will be $60 paid out in $1 increments that are discounts on your beers that you drink that night by using the promo code ThePostCincy. Don't spend it all in one place, please.
It'd be $60 minus learning fees, minus payroll taxes, minus transaction fees,
of course,
minus handling fees.
That one feels questionable.
Yeah. Minus Ticketmaster. Fuck you, you'll pay it fee.
Yeah, I love a good fuck you, you'll pay it fee. Luke, you did let
Luke,
this slip.
If you come to the show Saturday, I will hand you $60 in cash during the live show so everybody sees it.
I will literally not accept that.
but come to the live show anyway. We need numbers.
I'll be there. Me and my mom are going to be there.
Oh,
that's adorable. I love this.
We'll so what's the going rate? Is $60 for a seat filler at a post live show? Is that what I'm picking up on here?
I mean, Grayson's paying somebody $60. It may as well be you.
Luke, I have to ask, as we realized over our summer with you, you're very young. Are you legally able to drink at Streetside during this live show?
As of end of September, yes.
I love that.
Well, that's outstanding.
I went into like a liquor store and I walked in and went, "We got a freshie."
Shake your hands and say, "Welcome to a new lifetime customer of this particular vice."
And as a good responsible King's High School graduate, he never had touched the stuff before the end of September.
Oh my God, Luke! I guess I gotta ask you, how was your summer with the Post? And I'm going to use "with" in gigantic air quotes here. How was your summer with the Post?
It's fun. I got to talk about FC Cincinnati. I don't know. I always enjoy that. I got to practice some writing skills. I'm now an intermediate comp. Intermediate comp. It did not translate.
Oh no!
Still not that good at writing.
It's like going to the gym, right? It's just getting the reps in. Okay. You know, you're that many more drafts and projects ahead of where you would have been. So, you know, just think about how bad you could have been starting this class off.
What this is going to make us do is now we have to start a LinkedIn so that if he adds this to his resume, that it can at least link back to something that's real.
So
we have a LinkedIn.
I literally added this to my resume like an hour ago.
Yes.
Well, and I was like, do I want my employers to look this up?
That's a good point.
I can say for 2/3 of the hosting staff of this podcast, the answer is no. And that we're attempting to do everything possible to avoid our employers looking this up.
What? So you're an intermediate comp?
Yeah.
Like composition, like writing?
Yeah.
What's this? What types of stuff do you write?
Yeah. What are we comping?
One was like on like a literacy narrative. And so like I'm a tech guy. So I just talked about like how I got into writing. And then, gosh, this is going to sound weird, but we did another one and it was like discourse communities. And I was like, shit, I'm going to have to do the Post.
So did you write a paper? Did you write a paper about the Post Discord community?
No, I wrote it about the website, the podcast, and the Twitter page because I had to do different genres of communication. And I was sitting like, oh, this is so stupid.
I want nothing more than this to be posted on the website.
I need this. I need this on the website.
Oh God, it's horrible. It is a bad essay.
Have you've already submitted it?
For the rough draft. The final draft is due like next week.
All right, I'll tell you what. If you want, I'm offering any of us up. You can shoot it our way.
Yes.
We'll mark it up, offer some comments as part of your compensation for the summer.
Luke, okay, this is how you get the A. You send it to each of us. I'm committing all of us to providing feedback. And the discourse is how we would each then edit to have our community perceived by an outside community. So our edits themselves are the discourse on the discourse community.
That's too meta.
You're submitting 3 papers as one is what I'm getting at.
I think he's right. If I've noticed anything about where the culture is heading, it's heading toward less meta.
Yes.
Like less meta text and less subtext.
Yes.
Just a guy staring at the camera and not blinking and talking about baby Gronk. That's like that is the culture these days.
For 3 hours, yes.
Access to the Emersonian mind, if you will.
But Luke, I do absolutely want to read that rough draft.
Yeah,
like 1,000%. These 3 morons somehow.
So they said it was an internship, but really they just needed content for their podcast a couple of times and for me to report fun facts about a city.
What we'll find out is that he was given this assignment like last spring, and it was like a dinner for schmucks kind of situation. it's like embed yourself in among the dumbest community that you could possibly find, and observe like how people with like sub 80 IQs relate to each other.
Right. No, this is just he's just playing Jane Goodall and just documenting the 3 of us here. Like, here comes James Graybeard again. Shouting into the void about Giacchini.
I don't know if it's a good or bad thing then, Luke. You've become sort of a cult hero amongst the post faithful. So I don't know if this helps or hurts you.
I was going to say it's going to be like a rom-com. I started dating you as a joke, but it turned out I actually loved you.
Honestly, that's probably how most people come to find the post. they hate listen, they ironically listen, and we wear them down slowly but surely.
It's the shittiest Hallmark movie you've ever watched, except about soccer.
Well, I want you guys to know, I seriously put in my resume MLS Podcast of the Year in it, and I will be submitting that to jobs.
Yeah. Fuck yes.
Yeah.
My mom was like, you need to put that in. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm putting that in.
Of course. Yeah, of course you put that in.
Luke, we were a podcast for 2 years before you came on board. The 1 year you came on board, we became MLS Podcast.
It's directly related.
Come on.
Well, it's like, FC Cincinnati won the Wooden Spoon 3 years. The Post
2 years
came on the scene. Yeah, that's right. 2 years. Finished last 3 years. Post came on the scene, made the playoffs, won the Shield, won the 3rd place trophy that people won't stop reminding me about.
The prestigious 3rd place trophy.
And so I think, it's direct correlation. It's like a line always goes up kind of situation.
Yes.
Tyrone Marshall, coach of the year.
Yeah. That's 2 organization doing great. We add an intern and all of a sudden the 2s start really picking up steam. Many people asking.
That's a great point.
Can't be a coincidence.
It's a shame we didn't have you like covering the 2 team. Now that I think about it, Luke, that would have made a lot more sense.
Yeah, the world isn't ready for post 2. I don't think that anyone needs or wants that.
The crossbar, yeah. Oh God. Well, Luke, yeah, I don't know. How's the semester met you so far? The start of this year.
Yeah, it's been fine. I'm working at Best Buy, selling computers and Best Buy cards.
Breaking news, Best Buy still exists.
Oh, no, Chief.
There are some days where we have more like workers than customers.
Do they still tell you in the training manual when you work at Best Buy that the first thing that you say to anyone you meet is, I'm sorry, that's not my department?
Well, no, we're actually just supposed to know everything now. And I just get people who are really upset with me when I don't know something.
Do you guys still install car stereos? Because I think that was the last time, to sort of date my last appearance inside of Best Buy, I was having an aftermarket stereo installed in my Jeep. So
we do.
I thought that would have died out by now that everybody has like the full like touchscreen things in their car. I just don't see many people going in for an Alpine anymore. I don't know that happens. But that's somewhat refreshing to hear. That means to me the heart of America is still in a fundamentally good place.
Car stereo is really like probably when America culture peaked.
Yeah, like
with the removable faceplate.
Yeah, when you had to remove the plate off the car, but like you still put stereos in your car that could be stolen.
Yes. The height and the apex of American culture as like a tech empire was the car stereo faceplate that had the dolphins jumping on it. In the blue LEDs. One. Like it's been all downhill since then.
Oh man. What else you got for us, Luke?
Everything else will be all sports.
Oh, gross. Here. Okay. Well, before we get to that, I mean, not to drag us back into the season and looking at what could be coming. I'm just going to read the lineup the last time FC Cincinnati walked out to give us some sense of what we are dealing with here. It was Celentano in goal. From left to right, Hadebe, Robinson, Powell as your center backs, Yedlin as your right wing back, Yamil Assad as your left wing back, Buka, Wobodo, Acosta in the midfield trio, and it was Kelsey and Joaquini up top. Now, Cheetah was injured, but everybody else was being rotated basically at that point. So you had Murphy being rotated, Orshano, and Kubo. Kubo may be being rotated unless Noonan sees Joaquini as the starter up top with Kelsey ahead of him. Chief, what are the vibes like going into this one?
I don't know anymore. Whatever word you want to use here, the answer is probably right. It's yes. This is Rorschach Soccer Club at this point. Whatever you see in FC Cincinnati probably says more about you than it does about what the FC is, because I don't think the FC knows what the FC is. So vibes, the answer, what are vibes? The answer is yes. Vibes. There are certainly vibes. I just don't know what the hell they are.
I definitely think that's fair. Grayson, what are your vibes?
It's like I would say that this game is like a super bad or a book smart type vibe where it's like, this is the last night before we graduate. And, we haven't like really experienced the best yet. So we're just going to go out and run wild and see how it goes. And it could go good. It could go bad. But whatever happens, we'll wake up the next day and graduate and just move on with our lives.
Grab a bottle of Goldschlager and hope for the best.
Yep.
Goldschlager and a fake ID. We got this.
McLovin right. It is. You had any choice of any name in the world and you picked McLovin.
Was that or Muhammad?
You had any choice of any name in the world and you picked, I'm not going to say it, Joaquini.
Honestly, if someone offered me the option to play, 3 or 4 minutes of this game and then stand around awkwardly listening to Ave Maria for the rest of the time, I think I'd probably be okay with that at this point.
It's we'll touch more on like playoff vibes and playoff pictures and stuff later. Certainly don't want to burn all of that content in the weird gap between games there, but
Alizium warmed up with the full squad.
Oh shit! Okay,
and then did some individual work during the press thing, but I would say he's trending toward appearing.
Right.
I would say appearing, but my guess would be anyone in his position, they're probably gonna save. They're locked into their seating at this point, and I can't see them really running anyone out that might be on a pitch count or a minutes limit, maybe at the end of the match. Good to see he's coming back, but cool.
Yeah. I don't know what to make.
Luke, what are the vibes
game
right now? What do you feel the vibes are? Yeah. As the youngest person here, are the vibes better? Are we cynical in our old age? What's going on?
Vibes were bad. They were horrible. We looked bad. We got a little bit of a break in, and I'll imagine that the vibes are great right now. That we're going to win, and then we're just going to keep on winning. That's my vibes. I'm gonna pretend like that's real.
I like this. Manifesting reality right here.
There's a movie called You Were Never Really Here. Have you guys seen that movie?
No.
It stars Joaquin Phoenix. It's a fantastic movie, right? There's a moment in the movie, and I don't want to spoil it too much. There's a moment in the movie where some people theorize that he actually dies, and then the rest of the movie is a hallucination. And I think that this game is like kind of like one of those moments.
We may be already dead and we're just hallucinating this game.
Well, we may be dead, or we may experience a beautiful, glorious, triumphant playoff.
There's also people that theorize that when they say that your life flashes before your eyes when you die, it's the universe uploading you into the mainframe.
Ooh, I like that.
That sounds like none of my business.
Or what if what you're experiencing right now is the life flashing before your eyes moment?
God, I hope not.
I had this theory a long time ago that this is purgatory, and like we're all just sort of living here. We don't remember what things were like beforehand, but like we're all sort of stuck here until we atone for whatever it is that went wrong previously.
My feeling is always like, I hope this is real and not a simulation. Because, like, what a cruel thing to simulate.
It's a good point. Although with some of these AI prompts.
Yeah, or the best thing to simulate. God. Imagine how bad life must be in the real world if you're simulating this.
This is the escapism.
This is the escapism here. It's middle class lifestyle in the 21st century United States.
It's a very like West Wing limitation of democracy or of imagination, right?
Yes.
Where it's like oh, we get to write like our absolute fantasy of politics. And it's us compromising.
Yeah, it's a okay, compromising moderate Democrat.
We defund Social Security.
It'd be a fun.
We're still at war for some reason, even though 9/11 never happened.
It would be a really fun experiment to try and figure out who the main character of the simulation is, and like we just have to keep killing people indiscriminately until we find the main character. And like just all of a sudden the simulation winks out. Like there's one person here who is like living this and we're just all the NPCs around it.
You need to find the person that's just always in the room, right? So it can't be one of the main players. They've got to be like the observer type, the one that's just hanging around nearby.
I don't know.
Oh my. It could be any one of us.
Anyway, Philadelphia soccer games.
Luke.
Enough existentialism for one day.
Philly plays how? What should we expect from them in this game?
They play like the way we wish FC Cincinnati would play. Like just all of like the easiest shit.
Okay.
Like, just like they kind of just toss the ball up in the box and then Baribo just kind of taps it in. They hit like they can do corners real good.
Damn.
But like they can't do anything else like that's like impressive. Like nothing that we can do. And so I don't know. So I also looked last time we played them, we had Murphy, Keller, and Haglund as our back line. I think we will have an improvement.
Definitely have like, a different back line.
I love Kevin's still standing for Keller, even ahead of match day 34.
Was that the Leagues Cup game, or are you talking just the league?
I was saying regular season, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I forgot we played in the Leagues Cup, to be honest.
So I think most people in this fan base would like to forget we played him in the Leagues Cup.
I was on vacation during that one. I'm like, I actually don't need to watch this. This looks horrible.
Shit, Luke may be the main character. It just didn't happen if he wasn't looking at it.
It's a good call. Our backline in Leagues Cup was Murphy, Cheeto, Robinson, and it's hard to imagine a better backline we could put together right now.
We wish we could start that right now.
Yeah, you'd take that if it was being offered. It's like, wait, Cheeto's healthy to start? Hell yeah.
Now, in fairness, DeAndre Yedlin was the right wing back. Sounds good. Corey Baird was the left wing back. So things weren't always what they seemed.
What was the final score in that one again?
Bad.
It
4-2
was
bad.
4-2.
So they only scored 3 on us with this worst backline. And like the regular season.
Makes you wonder. We did not have Lucho Acosta in that Leagues Cup game. He subs in late, I believe.
Yeah. Starting striker for that game, Sergio Santos. The tip of the sword, Orishano, Kubo, and Santos. Just like you drew it up at the start of the year. If you would have told yourself that was the lineup, tip of the sword, those 3 prior to match day number 1, you would have asked, the fuck is the sword?
I'm still kind of asking that question. Luke, is there anything else you researched that we didn't touch on? I don't want any of your effort to go to waste, dare I say, unlike this summer.
Yeah, it was, they have like the most missed big chances like in the league, which is kind of concerning because I feel like they just make a lot of big chances. Is what I think
they also, I think, have like a positive goal difference, even though they're out of the playoff picture.
Yes, it is absolutely wild to see what that looks like right now, because they have a +8 goal differential.
+8.
Plus we have +9.
We have +9. The teams on either side of Philadelphia, so ahead of them, Toronto, with a -21 goal differential. And the team behind them, Atlanta United, not too shabby, -4. The team behind Atlanta, Nashville, -19. So
but the last team in the playoff position is Montreal at -18.
Yeah.
And the team ahead of Montreal, also in playoff position, is DC United with -15.
The next team with a better goal differential than Philly up the table is Orlando in 4th.
Toronto is tied with them on points with 19 losses. That's how is that possible?
Toronto's played 34 games.
Okay, all right, never mind.
Right, they're the ones.
That's still absurd.
Yeah,
how do you get 37 points with 19 losses? That's all right. This league rules. What can I say?
And I'll tell you the script of this game.
Okay,
let's go.
They will score first.
Obviously.
We will come out.
Of course.
We had a bye week. They'll hit some shot from outside the box, and Roman will have an awful miss. Defense will just kind of be standing there, and then we have to fight our way back. Because, like the note I put, they will catch you sleeping. Oof. Like that's just literally their offensive strategy is to like do something weird when you're not ready for it.
Jim Curtin, let's get weird.
And I'm just ready for the Oak tweet to hit.
But do we catch them, Luke?
I will say we will win as long as we don't like fuck up our like back passes and like just kind of give them how we've just not been able to complete a pass and like just give them the ball. If we don't do that, we can beat them. We're better than them. It's just it's up to us to win is what I'll say.
All right. So Luke thinks we're going to lose. Kevin, Grayson, what do you
I think we're gonna lose, but only so like Philly needs to win to get into the playoffs. Our position is set in 3rd. Yeah. And if there's anything FC, since like we've got like injuries and people and all stuff, so like there's not a lot of incentive to push anybody. And it also always seems like when the other team has more to win than we do, or we have an excuse to take a game off. We just do. I mean, a classic example is the Wednesday at home after clinching the Supporter Shield last year against Toronto. Like, that game was silly.
Yeah.
It was, we clinched against Toronto. We played Red Bull. And it was just like kind of a silly game that we played. So I don't expect much this weekend. And Philly's got, like, as we've explained, they are much better than their position.
Yeah.
And I do think that I think that they probably want to give themselves at least a shot to get into the playoffs. And they also probably want me to hit on that bet of the top of what teams are in the top 9.
Yeah, Curtin mentioned that in his media availability this week. He's like, I heard a podcaster's got some money on us, so we're going to play a little extra hard just for that.
So yeah, I think Philly's gonna go all out because there's a lot at stake for everybody. So yeah, Philly's gonna beat us. Like, it's gonna be like some stupid game, like 5-3.
Oh, that would not fill me with confidence. They're
gonna win. Like, the FC is going to win this game, and they're going to win it pretty convincingly. I think they're going to win it 3-1 because it's the funniest possible outcome before we get swept in the playoffs. That, like, they're going to give us this, like,
I'll tell you something. If we win this game, we will not get swept at the playoffs.
That's kind of what I'm thinking. Like, this is a momentum team.
If we win this game, the momentum has swung.
They're going to win this game just so the playoffs hurt more when we lose to Columbus again.
Yeah.
God damn it. That is.
We've taught him too much.
Yeah. He's
become self-aware. All the probabilities out there do point to us losing to Columbus in the playoffs. So Philadelphia's last 5 league games are very interesting. I'll start with the oldest one first. They beat New York City FC, the current 5 seed. They beat them 5-1.
I will make a note. I watched that game.
And
do not give Philadelphia any credit for that game. New York City looked horrible.
Got him.
Okay.
Own goals. Like, horrific.
Okay.
New York City just played like horrible.
All right.
Love to hear that.
That one's out the way.
The next one, they beat DC United 4-0. DC United currently an 8 seed. They can't move out of that playing game. But they're there. Then they drew Atlanta 1-1, the team right behind them, lost to Orlando, the current 4 seed, 2-1, and then lost to Columbus 3-2. So they are sort of the Dalton line, as it were, for a good team. They looks like they beat the bad teams and they lose to the good teams. And that would make me think that I don't necessarily want to predict this match so much as I want to use this match as the measuring stick for how good or bad FC Cincinnati is. So with that, I think FC Cincinnati wins 1-0, but
we're not getting a clean sheet.
Oh, you don't think we're getting a clean sheet?
No. When was the last time we got one?
Columbus, right?
Yeah, Columbus, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like we let in one quick goal like every time.
We get that out of the way quick. We ruin the drama as to whether or not they'll commit a clean sheet. It's just like, nah, fam.
The last time we got a clean sheet in the league in a win was against Dallas on June 29th. That's a while ago.
It is almost like we're like what are you guys doing? Like, what are you trying we're just easing into it. What are you doing trying to score so early?
Right.
Guys, come on. I thought we agreed we were going to jog a little bit at first. What do you mean such a hardo for?
We did beat Querétaro 1-0 in Leagues Cup.
Neat.
Yeah.
Neat.
So there you go. There you have it. We're all predicting different things, and the vibes and or meaning of this game is really in the eye of the beholder. So yeah, Luke, hey, glad to see you're alive, man. This is good.
Luke, on behalf of the Postcast, for your participation in this regular season, we award you the official Postcast Gold Star. Congratulations.
Yeah.
I'll put that on my resume too.
Oh, Luke, if you would like, Chief, with your blessing, would you like to be the one to end this episode with the golden words here?
Fuck you, San Diego.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Cincy Postcast. It is a production of The Post Cincy. You can check us out at thepostcincy.com or just click a link in the description to check out some of our written work. It also has links to our social media accounts across all sorts of different platforms, including YouTube, where we are trying to do more and more video content. Please, dare I say it, like and subscribe and leave a comment. But no, that would be really, really helpful. Also want to give a thank you to Jim Trace and the Makers. They're a local Cincinnati band who provided all of the music for this episode. We love having them on board. You can check them out. Again, link in the description of this episode to find out where they might be playing shows next or where you can listen to more of their music. Also want to give a massive, massive thank you to the awesome and very attractive patrons over on Patreon. It is a voluntary subscription that people take out with no real promise of anything extra that keep this show afloat. And we are so, so thankful to those of you that have decided to take that commitment. If you do like the show, or at least just want to engage with other people who have listened to the show and want to talk about FC Cincinnati, MLS, soccer, or really anything else, you can go on over to Discord. Again, link in the description. Lots of links in the description where you can find a link to the Discord. That's where we are keeping the conversation going 24/7. It feels like it's a really fun group of people in there just talking about FC Cincinnati. And like I said, just about everything else. And finally, I'll say it. If you liked this episode, and given the fact that you've made it all the way to the end, I have to assume you either like it or for some reason cannot reach the stop button. Please share this episode with a friend or family member or someone who likes FC Cincinnati. The best way for us to grow is from a personal recommendation from somebody who likes it. And if that's you, please tell other people. And if you don't have any friends, feel free to give us a review on whatever your podcast platform of choice is. We'll take anything we can get. But again, a huge, huge thank you to everybody for listening to this show. I am blown away that anybody listens to this. So again, I well and truly mean this. Thank you so much for listening.